Basketball fans, welcome back. So, in this game, Kenya matched up against Senegal. This was the second time Kenya was meeting Senegal, and this game ended 69-51 with Kenya the receiving end of yet another L. But this time it was different because in the first window, the Kenyan Morans were under Coach Cliff Owor's control, but now he got fired, and the Kenyan Morans management and KBF they brought in Coach Liz Mills. So KBF is the Kenya Basketball Federation. They brought in Coach Liz Mills. She hails from Australia, and she took the reins of the team for this second window and the actual Afrobasket. So in this game, it was a bit different because it was not a blowout. And in the lead up to this game, you saw the Kenya Morans did a couple of press runs with reference to this window, which happened in February 2021. And it was actually quite historic because at least there was no embarrassing, brutal beatdowns, so as we thought, because in the last game against Mozambique, they got beat. But we're going to look at that in a later video. But in this video, we'll be looking at Kenya versus Senegal. This game, there was a strong first quarter from the Kenya Morans, which was rightfully so. It was needed. And the Kenya Morans just showed some promise, especially when the game started. And in the second quarter, you could see the Kenya Morans won the quarter, and they were able to hold Senegal to the least amount of points of 6 points. When I watched this game live, after the first half, I was actually quite confident with the Kenya Morans. I felt like this is a game that they could make close, and potentially they could have been an upset there, and they would have, shocked the world if we beat Senegal. But you know how this goes. In the second half, that's when Senegal just utterly dominated Kenya. Dunk after dunk, transition play after transition play. It was so, my God, it was so embarrassing to watch. We watched the plays that Senegal were running, high, fast-paced transition plays, dunk after dunk after dunk. Even I saw like a couple of posters that were made, and my God, it was just so embarrassing. And statistically, this game was just a lopsided affair, especially when it came to the Kenyan Morans versus Senegal. Senegal just had the upper hand everywhere. They had the size. They used the same strategy. They didn't change much on their offense because we already saw how Kenya plays. We had a few additions to the squad. We had Preston Bunge in the squad. We had Pusha Mukota in the squad. We had like those minor changes, especially the big change of the coaching staff. So having Coach Liz Mills there, I know her philosophy was different to Coach Cliff. So there was an expectation that there was supposed to be a bit of more change when it came to basketball, but the players were majority, like 80%, 85% of the players were the same, and there was little to no improvement given like how they were exposed in November. So in this window, Senegal just looked big, they looked huge, and the Kenyan Morans, they shot well. They shot well, especially when it came to 2-point field goals. They converted well. The game went away because they couldn't knock down the 3-ball, which is their biggest undoing. And they got out-rebounded brutally by Senegal, both offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. This game was ruled as a no contest, especially in the second half. And the lead changes, majority of them happened in the first and second quarter. There's only one lead change that happened in the third quarter. And at the half, the Kenyan Morans were up. The Kenyan Morans were up in the third, and it was actually a game that it looked like we were going to win. At the halftime, we were up, but when Senegal just smelled blood in the water, they just came in and they just hit us so hard. Every single play was just a highlight play. They just took the mistakes that the Kenyan Morans had, and they just used them to facilitate their offense, especially when it came to turnovers, miscommunications on passes, bad passes, able to do that. And they did a fine job at making sure to defend Tailongwe as hard as they can. And they did so, and they made sure that he had a very uncomfortable game. And they actually made sure that the other team players in the Kenyan Morans facilitated the offense on the scoring options, but not Tyler. So they took Tyler off the game, and they made sure that there was no production coming from his side. And it actually was a good strategy because the other players, when they attempted to like make plays, It was a turnover. I saw a turnover from Ronnie Gundo, which was actually fun. You could see a pass, pass in the back, quick transition, fast break dunk. There were like a total of about 6 fast break dunks, like about 3 posters. It was such an all-in massacre, and you could see the turnovers that when they kept creeping in. Kenyan runs when they have more than 20 turnovers, that's a loss, and they were not able to even beat Senegal in any other key statistical category that mattered. You could see when it comes to points from turnovers, Senegal won that. Senegal won the fast break points because of the turnovers. You could see second chance points were tied. Points in the paint, they actually really dominated as much as Kenya were dominating, especially in points in the paint. But when it came to knocking down the 3 ball, we were not able to do that. There was no point in time where this game was tied. There was 0 ties. When it came to the assists, you could see the Senegal knew what plays they needed to run, and because Kenya did not pose any threat, especially when it came to the defensive side of the ball, they made sure to capitalize on those transition plays, and that's the same strategy they used in the first game. Then in the first meetup, they matched up, and it was just ruled as like a no contest, and it was just a walk-through game for Senegal in the second half. In the first half, it looked a game that was promising, and just like I said, Kenya just had an improved performance based on like scoring. We didn't get blown out or embarrassed like that, but we had a couple of plays that were very embarrassing. We didn't get like dominated like that like the first time, because the first time I feel like the Kenyan Morans were very frazzled, but in the second going, the embarrassing moments were there, and quite honestly, the score line does not tell the whole story, because there are a couple of possessions that happened in the game and they were really, really embarrassing. But going into our usual suspects, you could see the legacy players. You could see Victor Bosero is not on the squad at this time. We had Preston Bunge. He played 35 total minutes. He shot 31% from the field, 105 from the 3-point line. So his production wasn't the greatest given like the heavy minutes that he was playing. He only had 11 points. You expect somebody playing at that position to be the most efficient, not even the most efficient like that, like a centerpiece, but a guy that is given like a lot of minutes and he logs in a lot of minutes. He's supposed to at least be a bit more productive when it comes to the court, but he wasn't at the time, because he had the highest negative plus minus from -23. So he was actually very inefficient. Griffin, I mean, he played heavy minutes as well. 3 points, 1 of 3 from the field. So no much production coming from him. Eric Mutoro virtually did nothing. This guy he was out of the depth at the time. Griffin, even you mentioned, he had a plus minus from -17. So you could see these are guys that you really can't rely on down the stretch. And it's not even like it's not even about like talking bad about these players, but if you look at the stat sheet, this is what tells you what they did in the game. You can look at the gameplay and you can look at the stat sheet, and this one just tells you that this is a person that you cannot rely on down the stretch given the minutes that they're playing. Eric Mutoro should be riding the bench, and I'm actually happy that he's not going to be playing this window, because in this window of this year's Afrobasket, because this is the production that he produced about 3 years ago, and this is the same player that is gonna produce the same thing. He produced the same even when he played in the AfroCan. He did virtually nothing in the 2023 AfroCan. It's funny that he gets call-ups. Victor Electric, I mean, this is a guy that is just known for personal fouls, so there's no cautions on that one. This is a guy that cannot take care of the basketball. This is a guy that I don't know how he plays. He was put in to knock down the 3-ball, but he can't even get his shots off. So it's actually quite embarrassing. There we go, Talongwa. Senegal just took him out of the game, and he had his most inefficient game. Even from the line, he missed every single shot. He had 4 turnovers there. He tried to go defense for 3 steals, and he had like 3 assists, 5 rebounds, but his productivity was diminished and he wasn't able to contribute anything. Valbuza, 14 points. That's the usual. You don't expect any different from this guy. Who else? Pusha Mukote was brought in. He had a plus minus from minus 16, 44, 4 of 9 shooting from the field. Not the best. Ronnie Gombe. I don't know why some people just got call-ups, because if you look at how they played, man, like it was just straight up pathetic. Okal Karanga, 1 point. 1 point. And it's funny that people praise and say that this is the guy that he's actually a good player, but look at his productivity. It's actually quite abysmal. Look at their productivities here. It's not even about scoring wise. Don't even look at this one, because scoring, not everyone can score the basketball. But look at the minutes that they're playing. 14 minutes. 14, 17. This guy 24. This guy played like two and a half quarters. 2.5 quarters and he produced this. This guy played three and a half quarters. Virtually the whole game, but you do nothing. Okay, not about scoring, but let's look at even the other stats. What about, rebounds, assists? This dude, Victor Electric, he had 0 points. Look at his assists. No assists, no rebound, only 3 personal fouls, 1 turnover, no steals, no block. Virtually nothing, and he played almost a whole quarter. All right, let's look at Okal Koranga. He didn't score, but what did he do in the other side of the ball? He only had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 personal fouls, 1 block. That's it? This is the justification for this guy playing 18 minutes? Okay, let's look at Bush then. 24 minutes played, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 4 personal fouls, 2 turnovers. Bro, there's nothing there, because these 4 personal fouls, they are the reason as to why Kenya is struggling. They are at that time. Desmond Willie, 14 points. This is a guy that you can't rely on. You can't rely on this guy. It's unfortunate that this guy got a call up, because he's inefficient. He was inefficient then, and he's still inefficient now. Inefficient then, inefficient now. Griffin, inefficient then. The guy very good skill wise, they are good, but when it comes to output, they are nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen completely. You cannot trust on these people. You can't trust these people to get you anything. Nothing, man. Even looking at scoring per quarter. Scoring per quarter, check this out. In the first quarter, they tried shooting inside. At least they were able to convert, but they are field goals. Preston, he missed that one. He also missed that one. I mean, Griffin, I'm not sure. Does this guy take the mid-range? Is he a mid-range shooter? Does he draw fouls? Sometimes you just don't even understand. Preston, he missed the 3. I'm not sure what business he had taking that 3. I'm not sure. He's not his spot. Tyler, he tried that one. Who made this? You can see Desmond Willie, he made a jumper. Eric Mutoro, a short chaka. Look at this. At least they tried to find a balance, because there's this time they were missing a lot of mid-range shots. They're not taking too many threes, and it just speaks to like the way they were playing. At least in the first half, they were a bit more aggressive and a bit more deliberate. But in the second quarter, I can say that's where, not even the second quarter, the second half, that's when their productivity just diminished, and it was just dominated by the amount of turnovers they had. So it was just a sad game to watch. Honestly, it was very embarrassing. I was watching it in second-hand embarrassment. It was the first time Coach Liz Mills was coaching the team. I know there was not much expectation going in there, because he knew Senegal were just going to win anyway. But the way the Kenyan Morans played in the first half was great. But in the second half, that's just when they fell off the wagon. And majority of the time, even when I watch Kenyan Morans games, I make sure to watch the second half. How we finish the games is actually wanting, and that's the main reason as to why I'm never that confident when it comes to Kenyan Morans basketball, because they can start off on a mean streak, but when the game progresses, second half of basketball, that's when they just fall off. That's when, you know, the fouls that they committed early in the game come back to bite them, because when you're playing with, like, you know, 3 personal fouls or 4 personal fouls, your defense is hurt because you can't play good defense. You can't foul. You cannot give fouls like that. You risk fouling out of the game. So that's the main problem. How we finish the games are are put to question. That's what is put to question at the time. So when I saw this, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I was like, you know what, they tried. Senegal is just a difficult team, and as the game just went on, you could just see a lot of embarrassing plays that were just, you know, following. So man, it was just difficult. But in the next video, it's actually on a highlight. It was a highlight game. We're gonna look at Kenya versus Angola, which was the game that Kenya managed to win so that they can lock up a position to play in the Afrobasket after in the 28-year hiatus. And I'll look at that in the next video. But in this one, the Kenya Morans, after this game, I feel like there was not much expectation or hype on that game, because they were just trying to see, can we win a game? Because luckily they were able to win the Angolan game. So yeah, man, I mean, that's just my opinion. So do drop me your feedback in the comment section, what you think about this. And also follow me follow me on Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, please be sure, you know, hit that follow button on top, and also hit the bell on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified. And yeah, man, I'm out. Peace.